Murdered Uber passenger sparks abortion debate. Yes, you did read that right. And it's caught on video. Nevertheless, what up, folks? Once again, it is your boy Tim with another ride sharing video. Now, I'm going to make the promise that this one is going to go in a host of different directions, but this is a very interesting video because it could set a legal precedent depending on how it's argued in court. So what the hell does riding in an Uber and having an abortion or even having the abortion debate have in common? Well, here is a 90-second video of what took place leading to a passenger being shot and killed in the back of an Uber.
Don't do that. Let my hand go. No, it's okay. Please. Get off my hand. I'm not trying. Get off me, side. I ain't done. I'm done talking. That's it, crazy. I'm not trying to get aggressive. Get off my hand. I'm not trying to get aggressive with you. I just don't want to issue. Okay. 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 We're literally almost at the house. Don't ever think about no bus on my name in your life, bro. Oh God. I'm far from drunk. Okay. I'm far. Can you let me go? I'm not doing shit. I'm not even doing shit. Let me go. Hi, Gigi. Hi. You said what I said here. Oh, so you finna leave with these? Oh, them. No, you went out. You went out. One. Go. Let my hand go, bro. No, you're with us, bro. I'm not gonna argue with her. You heard what I said. You okay. First of all, if you go outside the club, you're like, oh, you're being a groupie. You're being a groupie. Far from stop. Don't hold me.
In the middle of an argument, pulls out a firearm and fires it within a moving car. We have a lot to unpack here from both the Uber side, and I want you to hear the legal twist at the end that could set a precedent in this entire country for the abortion debate. This is going to get very interesting, so I urge you to follow through to the end of this video. So, starting out from the Uber side. Now, anytime you have more than one personality in your vehicle, more than one passenger, you run the risk of this happening. Husband and wives getting in fights. Sometimes you have the parent wanting to reprimand their child in your vehicle and things like this. So this is also why I was never a fan of the so-called shared rides aspect of ride sharing, where two different passengers who have no knowledge of each other, no relationship with each other, can share your ride to have a cheaper experience. I was never a fan of that because that also can lead to mixing of personalities in the back of the vehicle. And none of this stuff is safe for us drivers, even though we were not asked how we feel on it at all. I don't do shared rides. You guys let me know in the comments, particularly veteran drivers, how do you feel about shared rides? We already barely get paid anything for one ride. Now we got a second passenger trying to do something because it's cheap, unlikely to get a tip or anything. So I'm not a fan of shared rides. Now, in regards to what you see in the video, before the firearm was produced and someone lost their life or someone got shot, you see an argument clearly breaking out in the vehicle. Just giving you my advice as a veteran driver, been driving off and on since 2014. Do not ever sit in a vehicle when there is an argument or a scuffle taking place behind you. Stop the car and get out of the vehicle immediately. Because if something resorts to a physical altercation, and we're not talking about firearms or any weapon of sorts, if they just start physically fighting, the chances of you being punched in the back of the head or kicked to the side of the face increase significantly. So do not continue your journey when there is a physical altercation taking place behind you. Stop the car, get out of the vehicle, and let the passengers know this ride cannot continue with this type of stuff taking place. Now, if you don't want to be confrontational to your passengers because they're already pissed off, they're already involved in a fight, so allowing you to join won't be any big deal. So if you don't want to get in a fight with your passengers, you can tell them you got anxiety. I got anxiety and I can't drive and deal with all the screaming and fighting or whatever the hell the case may be. You guys got to get another ride. I cannot have this going on behind me. Even in the midst of a heated argument, anybody should understand that you don't want to drive with 2 or 3 people fighting behind you. So that would be my first push. Pull the car over, get the hell out of the vehicle, and let the passengers know there is no way this ride is going to continue. Because it's not safe. It's just not safe. Like I stated before, the chances of you being struck while folks are fighting within a small confined space of a moving vehicle, there's a real good chance of that. Now, going to the legal argument portion of this, and this is big, folks. Now, the female who pulled out the gun, her name is Natalia, I'm pronouncing that Natalia Harrell or Natalia Harrell. She's been charged with 2nd-degree murder. Looking at the video, it's hard to really ascertain if her life was truly in jeopardy because it's hard to see if the other passenger was strangling her or doing something of that nature. So I don't know what her attorneys will argue as opposed to why she pulled out a firearm and shot someone to death. But she has been charged in the state of Florida with 2nd-degree murder. Here is the twist that I promised you at the beginning of the video. Her attorney is pushing to have her released. Listen to the grounds that he is seeking to have her released. Now, she's been locked up since July 26th of last year. So she's been incarcerated at the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Facility or Correctional Center about 7 months. July 26th, about 7 months. Listen to this argument coming from her attorney. He is stating that his client's unborn child, meaning that this woman that fired the shot in that vehicle was pregnant at the time. She is incarcerated and pregnant. The attorney is arguing that his client's unborn child should be released from jail because the fetus inside of her has not been charged with a crime. Now, I understand on its face, this sounds ridiculous. Pregnant women serve time all the time. However, currently we are involved in a big abortion debate in this country. So hear me out. Now, obviously with her attorney arguing that the fetus has not been charged with a crime, therefore should not be incarcerated, it leads to the obvious question. Do we observe the rights of an unborn fetus? Now, there are cases to be made. If a woman is pregnant and you commit a crime that also cost that unborn fetus's life, you can be charged with double murder. Even though that baby has not taken its first breath, is not outside the womb, if you harm the mother carrying it and the fetus pays the price, you can be charged with a double homicide. What about a woman that is pregnant, but because she is poor or did not think it out, she wants to have an abortion? A lot of folks suggest no, because at the end of the day, that unborn child had nothing to do with the mom making a bad decision. There are even folks who use that same argument in cases of rape or incest. Even though the mother carrying a child is a victim of a crime, the unborn child growing inside of her had nothing to do with that, therefore should not be punished and should be brought to term. Bringing this up because the question asked is, do we observe the rights of an unborn fetus? Clearly the answer in a lot of cases is yes. So in this case, the attorney is arguing that the child growing inside of her has constitutional rights. And by the way, folks, this is taking place in Florida. So it is in a southern, anti-abortion state. So this is a strong argument. I don't know what type of legal precedent it could set, but it's certainly going to depend on the judge. Listening to the way I'm presenting it, I'd like to hear what you folks think in the comments. Because like I stated, we can charge an assailant with double homicide, even though the fetus is still in the womb. We can tell a woman she has no right to abort the fetus because the fetus has rights as well. You can't take a life that's not your own. So in this case, you're incarcerating someone that had nothing to do with the circumstances of the mother. The same argument we use for why we do not allow abortions in many states. Reason I'm bringing this to you is because we don't want to be trying to pick and choose when we're going to observe the rights of the unborn. If it's not the child's fault when the mom wants to abort the child, well, it's not the child's fault when the mom commits a crime. The child didn't commit the crime, so why should the child be punished for it? Very similar to a mom having unprotected sex, wanting to abort the child, and folks are arguing the child had nothing to do with that. Why should the child be punished? There is no denying at all that being incarcerated is both physically unsafe and medically inadequate. Her attorney is arguing she has not received any visits from any outside doctor since October of last year. That's not to be confused with the fact that, you know, carrying a child while incarcerated is not, it's really not conducive to a good outcome for the child. A lot of parents talk about, you know, what it was like to have a child in prison, and it's generally not good. They, for the most part, take the kid away right away. But I'm not going to go into that. I'm not a big expert on what it's like to have a child in prison, and thank God of that. But what do you guys think in the comments? Because this could end up setting some sort of a precedent. We've set the precedent that the life of the unborn should be a concern when it's taken by an assailant, when it's in a wound, or when a mom wants to have an abortion. We got a lot of women that are incarcerated while carrying a child. What do you think? Anyhow, once again, it is your boy Tim. I don't know where to go with this one, but I did want to drop it on you folks to see what your opinion is. As always, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.
For the love.